Okay, so let's get going. Good morning. My name is Ali Zakir. I'm a techno-functional consultant with AblyPro. This is the third video in a series of webinars that we're doing for field service. And in today, we're going to be talking specifically about service territories and operating hours and how they interact with one another and why they're important. Um, so yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about operating hours and how we configure them and the importance of those. We're going to talk a little bit about page layout, one in specifically concerning operating hours. And then we'll be talking about service territories, once again, the importance of them, how that helps you manage your work and your remote workers, and then another way of setting up service territories and things of that nature. Um, Before we continue, what I'd like to do is just get a feeling of who we have and the audience that we have in the field here. So I'm going to have you take a quick poll. You should see it now. So if you could just respond to this poll, the real-time visibility of field service operations. So I don't know if the audience that we have, if they have an automated system or they're using some software-based system, but generally speaking, um, this is a good question. And this is one area where Salesforce Field Service really helps a business manage their operations. If we can get a few more people to answer, that'd be great. Okay, so obviously, it looks like for some people it's very important, and for some it's less so important. So I'm gonna. In terms of, I'm just going to share the results so people can see. Generally speaking, from my experience, this is an extremely important aspect in terms of really managing your remote workers and your technicians that are out in the field. So this is really important because otherwise you're kind of blind and you don't know what's happening out in the field, and that can ultimately cost you customer service as well as increasing your operational cost and making you less efficient. So really having that visibility, knowing what's happening out in the field is really key, irregardless of what industry you may be in. But once you have remote technicians out in the field, and this could be spread over a vast area or more of a city, but it's very important to have that visibility. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about operating hours, and then we're going to be talking about service territories. So what I'm going to do is actually jump in to the org. Here we go. So operating hours, operating hours in field service can represent the mobile workers, their hours itself, the service territory hours, appointment window, arrival times, for when if you have a customer come to a particular location, you can define those hours, and then customer appointment time preferences also. So like, imagine your doctor's appointment. You have a doctor's appointment, and people, or you have a showroom, and people are booking times when they can come into the location to do a viewing or whatever the case may be. So you can define windows for that. Typically, what operating hours allow you to do is just manage your field operation and segment your operations into manageable segments. That could be by time zone, that could be by city, And there's multiple ways that you can break it down, not only for your field service operations, but also from your back office. You know, let's say your dispatcher in terms of just organizing what they can see, which field technicians they can manage and things of that nature. And then also what you can do is you can create hierarchies. For example, you know, you have a large America, you have different time zones in America. So if you wanted to, you could segment and break out your territories by, um, you know, Eastern time, Central time, Mountain time, Pacific time. Um, once again, you're just managing, you have different hours, obviously, and that's one way of segmenting your field service individuals that you have out there, and just hierarchies. And this is an example I'll actually give you is, um, you know, let's say you have New York City. New York City it's a big city. Um, and you want to segment it so you can manage your field service operations easily. So in a scenario like that, you only have one time zone. However, you have different areas within that, and you can break it down by you can break it down in multiple ways: uptown, downtown, midtown, or you could just break it down by different boroughs. So there's multiple ways you can do it. So anyway, um, and the importance with operating hours also is you can associate those hours with your accounts. So let's say one account is available for service from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Great. But let's say you have another account that they're only available from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So you can define those hours on the account. So when it comes time to servicing that account, you know what times you can go there and what times you cannot go there. Um, Also, the operating hours, you can associate them with what we, within field service, what we call field territory members, field technicians. And once we do the demo, we'll show that also. And as I said before, you can also have appointment bookings for customer arrival times, where they can pick up a time slot when they would come in to look at a showroom and things of that nature. Also, operating hours, you can define them on a location, your warehouse locations, for example. So if you have a warehouse that opens at 6 a.m. and it closes at 2 p.m. So you can define those hours on a location. So operating hours can be defined, you can set them up and they can be used multiple ways. So so here we're signed into field service and we're in the admin app, as you can see here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the operating hours here. And right now, I have a few defined here. You have the base calendar, uh, Dallas, Texas, and gold appointment. Base calendar and the gold appointment calendar, these are default calendars that you get in the managed package. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new one here. So here, we're going to just call it NYC, New York. Typically, it's a good practice to give it a description. Let's say this is a warehouse. It's just very beneficial to just give it a description so you know exactly what it is, because typically what you'd have is you'd have multiple operating hours, and if you have a description in there, it just helps. So as we're talking about New York City, we're gonna scroll and see if we can find uh, -4, if I'm not mistaken. Eastern. What you'll find is a lot of time zones in here, so finding the one that you're looking for can be a little challenging. Right now, I'm just going to choose this one because just to save a little bit of time. But typically, you would actually scroll through here and actually find New York City Eastern time. So that disappeared on me again. We want to pick this one here for argument's sake for right now. All right. So what we have, we've given it a name. Typically, you put in the description, and then here you'd have the time zone, the correct time zone here. So this is where you can actually set up the time slots for your operating hours. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just create one here, 9 to 5. And this section actually here is a visual force page. By default, it's not in here. It has to be added to the page layout. And once I'm done here, I'll show you where that is and how you can do it. So what we can do here is we've defined Monday from 9 o'clock to 5 p.m. If you right click on that, you can just copy it. Actually, what we do is we will do copy to next day. And we'll do copy to next day. And we'll do that for Monday to Friday. And we will do actually, let me do this one a little differently. So this is Saturday. And Saturday, we're gonna do a little differently. We're gonna make this a extended hour. So if you notice here, this is over here, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. These are normal hours. And if you click on this, you'll see normal. And then for this one here, for Sunday, because this is obviously a Sunday, and actually what we'll do is, just for argument's sake, we're going to actually copy it to Sunday also. And now we define that this is extended. So this would be typically, after hours, emergency work. And what this allows you to do is, when you're doing your billing and things of that nature, you would bill time and a half or whatever the case may be. But you would know when you're scheduling the system and then doing your calculations in terms of how you're paying your employees, field technicians, that, we have to pay them time and a half or whatever the case may be. So we're just defining this as an extended hour. What you could also do is, and here we're going to do extended also. So once again, what we're saying is 9 to 5 p.m. is normal hours. And then from 5 extended hours. So once again, you could do your billing differently. And you can do your scheduling differently also. So that just gives you that flexibility. What we want to do is, before we actually leave this page, we want to click on save. So we've got that. So there you go. If you go to related, it'll give you the same information, but it'll just be in this format. It won't be in a graphical format, but it's exactly the same information. So what I want to do is actually now is come to the page layout, because that page layout where we actually saw the graphical representation for the time slots, that's not there by default. So what we want to do is come to page layouts, and then field service operating hours layout. And then what we'll do is come to the visual force page. I've already added it, but what you want to add, and it just makes it easier, that's why I like adding it, is this visual force page calendar editor. You just take this and you will just drag it down. As I said, I already had this added, but I like to add this. And then you just click on save. All right, so we're coming back to here to our operating hour. So now, as we can see, we've added New York City. Once again, here's the graphical representation of the hours that we have. And then if you click on related, you'll see the same information also. So you could add multiple operating hours. So if you had a warehouse, you could just add another one here, say New York City, um, warehouse, location. You just do that. You would pick your time zone. I'm just going to pick something random here, random. So just for the sake of moving forward, click on save. And then once again, you would just add the appropriate hours for your warehouse. So let's say Monday, open till 2 o'clock, from 6 o'clock in the morning. And you would just define whatever hours that warehouse would be open for. And we're just going to continue. So those are the operating hours. So the operating hours can be used multiple ways, and we'll show you how to do that. But once again, you can associate those hours to a specific account, to your service territory member. You can associate hours to a specific service resource. So let's say you have a technician that only works Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 o'clock to 8 p.m. You can define that also. So there's multiple ways that you can use operating hours. And you can also set up appointment booking windows and time slots for when a customer can come into your location. So there's multiple ways you can use operating hours. And then, as I said, you can also define them on like a warehouse location and things of that nature. What we're going to do now, we are going to talk about service territories. So service territories, we create service territories to track the place where your team, your field service technicians would actually perform the field service work. Um, uh, they typically represent like a geographical area where your team is going to be doing the work. They can also be like a functional territory where, once again, your field service would do the work, as well as field service sales. Like, as I said, like if they're coming to your location, you can define a territory like that also. Typically, you do not want to, once you've created your territory, in terms of assigning technicians resources to a territory, you typically don't want to assign more than 50 technicians or field service operation individuals to a territory. So no more, typically no more than 50. And the reason for that is just from an efficiency point of view and just scheduling, and from a dispatching perspective also. Because once you have more than 50, it becomes a bit difficult to manage. Now, the other thing that's important with service territories is when you're creating a work type, work order, and service appointment, those get associated to a service territory. So let's say you're creating a service appointment. For that service appointment, you obviously want to know where that work is going to be performed. So what we do is, when you're creating a work order, you're using typically you're using a work type. So in that work type, you would define what location or what territory this work is to be performed within. And that's one way the optimization engine knows, okay, fine, this is the territory, and then also it looks at the physical address that we have defined, and it does the calculations in terms of just shortening the distance and shortening the travel time and things of that nature. So service territories, defining them is very important. What is typically a good practice is, even if you have your service territories defined, it's a good thing to just revisit how you have them defined, and it to just in a more logical way. Just because you have your service territories, or you've defined them in a certain way right now, doesn't mean going forward, if you use field service, you want to continue doing it that way. Sometimes it's best to kind of take a step back, redefine them, analyze them, and then create new service territories. All right. So what we'll do is before we jump in to service territories, we'll just do another quick poll. So what we're asking here, if you currently have field service operations, how many do you have basically? So just to get a gauge of the audience. Okay, let's wait a few more seconds. So the first category we have is 1 to 25, which is pretty small. And then the next one up is 25 territories to 100, which is actually a decent size or a decent number of territories. So I'm going to end the poll now. So it's actually split in terms of percentages. So as I said, it's a split, 1 to 25 and then 25 to 100. All right, great. Service territories. All right, so what we're going to do is let's create a new one. So we'd come to service territories, click on new. So in our case, we're going to call it NYC, New York. We do not have a, let's see, parent territory defined. That's fine. But what you could, as I had mentioned, if you wanted to, you could define a territory of New York City, and then below that you could, have your different territories defined within that area from a hierarchical point of view. So operating hours, we're going to pick New York City right here. So once again, we have this, we're creating a new service territory, and then within that, we're defining the operating hours for that territory. All right, we're going to make it active. Now now this is optional. You do not have to put an address in here. What the address, once you put an address in here, what happens is this would be considered like the home base for your operations. So when the field service optimization engine, it does a calculation in terms of travel times for your technicians. It would use the home base address and then do the calculations. The other option that you could do is if your field technicians, they start their day, or you start your calculations from their home, let's say, you could do that calculation also. The other thing you could do here, this could be an office. This could be the technician is going to go to a warehouse, pick up parts, and then that's when they start their day. So this is, once again, it just depends on your situation, and in terms of what the home base location would be. So for this particular scenario here, we're going to say New York City. I'm just going to, I already have this open address, and this is actually the Empire State Building. Yeah, all right. Oops. Okay, so we put an address in here, and this will be considered the home base for this territory. We're just going to save it. All right. So here is the name that we've given for the service territory. We didn't define a parent territory. We've defined the operating hours, and we've made this service territory active, and this is our home base. So now if we come to related, we have a couple of things here. We have, and this is actually the resource or the field technician that is available. So we can define that in here. And this is just the history of when it was created. The main thing that we want to do here is on the service territory member, we want to, either we can add an individual, but we're going to just, we already have a field technician here called Tom Hicks. So now in this scenario, let's say we want this technician to start their day from their home address. So this is where you would type in their home address here. So you know, you could put in anything in here you want. Let's just say Main Street, and then so on. Right. So this would be their home base. And then also, if they have a different operating hours meaning they work a different schedule than, let's say, the parent operating hours, you could define it here. So let's say, for argument's sake, we had created an operating hours for Monday, Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You would define that here, or you would select it here from the list, or you would have that predefined. If you don't select address in here, or you don't enter in the day, and you don't enter in operating hours here, then it would just default to the service territories operating hours. Here we're going to say, okay, when do they start working? So we're just working in this territory for Tom Hicks. So we're just going to select today's date, 12 p.m., whatever the case may be. And we're going to say they're going to work there for 1 week. We're just going to save it. Okay. The other important thing here is we have primary here. Let's just go back in here and edit this. So territory type. So there's actually 3 types that we can define here: primary, secondary, and relocation. So primary means that, okay, Tom Hicks, this is their territory. This is where they're going to be working 99% of the time, let's say. However, let's say in a scenario where we have an emergency, it could be an emergency. You can also define a service technician as a secondary. Say you had another individual, Tom Hicks is not, his primary, he's not available. Then you had another individual and you have them defined as secondary. So if Tom Hicks is not available, then the backup would be secondary. And the other option you have here is relocation. So let's say, once again, there's a nor'easter in New York City, and you need additional resources to come in from Pennsylvania, Florida, whatever the case may be. You could define them as relocation and then define how long you want them in that location in New York City. So let's say you have a technician coming from Florida to help out. You would just say, okay, fine, it's a relocation, and they're going to be working for 1 week, and you would just define the dates here. All right. So go back here and then save that. All right. So those are the main items that we want to look at in service territory. The other, now we did New York City. So what I'm actually going to come over here now, and we're going to come to field service. So we're going to open up this application here. So the other aspect why this is important in terms of your service territories, in terms of from the back office perspective, from a dispatcher's perspective, how do you manage your employees? So if you come to the map, this is a new one that we just set up. So we're going to uncheck and we're going to check New York City. We're going to save it. So now nothing is showing for us because we didn't complete defining things. Well, in this particular view, you would see service appointments specifically for the New York City territory. And then also here on the GAN view, you would see a list of service technicians available for you for scheduling that can do the work. We didn't set anything up here, but not only from a field service operation is service territory is important, but also from a dispatcher's perspective, it's important. So what we will do is, one other thing I wanted to just show you. Yeah. So we're in the field service admin app right now. So we're just going to click on field service settings. So we had shown you one way of setting up service territories. The other way that you can do it is use the guided setup, and you can do it here. Oops. You could do it here under create service territories. So you have, right now I have defined Austin, Dallas, Houston, and New York City. So once, so you could just create another one here. Let's say Miami. We're going to add Miami. Once again, same as doing it the other way, you would select the base calendar. So the calendar that we want to define for the service territory. So right now we're just going to select the base calendar. And then here you can also define the actual address. So we're going to just leave it blank, but this is just another way of setting up the field service territories. So that's the end of the presentation. There's a very quick overview of what operating hours are, and then also what your field service territories are, and the importance of them, and how they interact with one another. So thanks for joining in this presentation. If you want to reach out to us with any questions that you have concerning field service lightning, we'll be more than happy to help you out with that. This is our contact information here. So once again, reach out to us with any questions you may have, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thanks again, and thanks for joining. Have a good day. Bye-bye.